September 19th, 2024. We do have a quorum. Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You're good, Angela. Don't worry. You're good. You're good.
I'm going to ask the Board of Education for approval of minutes of September 5th meeting.
So moved. Second, Anthony Monaco.
I will read the resolution of the resolved the Board of Education on the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Education on September 5th, 2024. So we have a motion and a second. We have any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passed. Now we move on to the visitors portion of the meeting. We have one speaker, Angela. Your thoughts are limited to 4 minutes, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Hold on, Angela. Let me make sure it's on. I'll take care of it. Don't worry, minutes don't start yet. There you go.
So, as I was looking at the agenda this past week, I noticed one particular point, and I just wanted to get some clarification, because sometimes, for the sake of time, we do like an overview. I was going to ask for just a little bit more information when it comes to point 5C of the agenda in the pupil personnel section. It's the approval of the release and settlement agreement. I just wanted to see why Menacing Valley Central School District was alleged to not have provided a student with a free and appropriate public education. And it's actually quite interesting. We're only 2 weeks into the school year, and the settlement is already there. So I'm actually very curious to see what we weren't able to offer and what Fields of Greens was actually able to offer instead. I know that the state asked for a lot. They throw a lot on your plate. So I wanted to see if they're just asking for the moon and we're not able to get certain services for certain kids, because I think I read that the child had an IEP. So I was just wondering if that was the case, or if somebody just kind of like dropped a ball, or what was going on with this particular kid. And with this one individual child, are there other ones out there that aren't getting the services that they need? I don't know. So I figured I'd just ask because I was curious. I saw that, and I've never really seen that before in pupil personnel. So I wanted to see what the answer was for that. And let me see. Oh, and there was another thing. When I scrolled down and I looked at the line items of what has to be paid, which is a little over, it's a little less than $12,000 for the tuition and everything. There was a line that said community service. Now, I have a child who's in a private school, and their community service is what we call volunteer hours. And it's our choice as a parent to be able to go to the school. It's a great way to have camaraderie and to have like a sense of being at a school to get those hours in. But it looks like Fields of Green has a policy where you can actually opt out of that. Now that's totally the parent's thing. Like, if I don't want to do the hours, I'm getting a bill at the end. That's just the way it is. So I'm wondering why the district, and I know it's pennies. I know $200 is the grand scheme of things, right? But if you take care of your pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves as well. So I was just wondering why the district has to pay that $200 as well. So I'll wait until people post now and then just listen for your answer. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll close that portion. Mr. Monahan, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. It is my honor to introduce our drum majors. I believe we have Sean Crow here and Alexis DeBovenay here, and I'm going to invite them to come up and spend a few minutes. And I will turn it over to the two of you.
Wow, got a real introduction. Well, as you said, my name is Alexis DeBovenay, and with me today is Sean Crow, and we are both drum majors from the MPHS band. We came today just to give you guys a little insight what we're doing down at the high school in our band program in case you weren't really sure. So, as I said, we're drum majors. For those who don't know what that means, it means that us, along with two other students, Audrey Guido and Drew Jashimbowski, who couldn't be here today, were selected the opportunity to experience teaching music and conducting to the rest of the band with the guide of Mr. Horner, Mr. Stickney, and Mr. Christie to help us as we were going along.
This experience is a very great experience, and it offers specifically, I know Alexis DeBouvernay here, great opportunities as she herself is going into music education, and that's just one of the best opportunities that you could possibly have. It's real world experience, and that's even before college. So we're very grateful for the drum majors positions to be offering such wonderful opportunities for us. And along with this, we also have members of the band that are very active within the community. Just about 2 weeks ago, one of our trumpet players and also one of the drum majors here, Drew Jashimbowski, was playing the tap ceremony, taps at the 9/11 memorial service. And we'd just like to kind of give kudos to him as well as Mr. Stickney for helping prepare him for that performance. Being here, we also wanted to take a moment to thank you, the board, for your contributions to the band program. And if you look down at the papers that I handed out to you, those are invitations to our two upcoming performances. Tomorrow, Friday, September 20th, and September 27th, also a Friday. Specifically, the 27th, our homecoming game, it is a very important one because not only is the MVH's marching band going to be performing, but also the 8th grade band coming up from middle school will be performing with us. So we'd like, if available, for you to come and support us.
Nonetheless, that's like a great opportunity for the 8th graders because I don't know if you guys know, but a lot of kids, when they get to high school, they drop band. It's just how it is. And a lot of them drop it because of marching band, so we think this is a great opportunity for them to see how it is, and hopefully they see it and they like it a little bit more, and we have more people joining next year. Also, we just wanted to thank you guys so much for everything that you've done for us, and we really hope to see you at our games. Thank you.
Thank you both.
All right, next I have on the agenda the mission and vision statement. If you remember, in your September 6th board report, I sent out the mission statement that was developed the last time we did strategic planning back in roughly 2006, 7, and 8. The reason why I sent it out is I know the conversation with the board was regarding what we would like to do moving forward. Is it a mission statement? Is it a mission statement and a vision statement? Is it maybe tweaking the mission statement moving forward? We want to be able to contact NYSBA to kind of get this rolling along. I wanted to make sure you had the mission statement opportunity to review it, see it, and see if there was a consensus from the board, if you were comfortable leaving the mission statement and just having NYSBA working on the vision statement, or if you'd like NYSBA to maybe look at the mission statement with you and make certain tweaks moving forward along with the vision statement. We just want to be able to give NYSBA an opportunity to know what they may be looking at when they come down, if that's who we're going to engage with. So any thoughts from any of our board members?
Would there be any harm in them looking at it? I mean, they
No
might-
harm at all. We
because
just
they
wanna
may-
make sure.
Because they may be able to give us some ideas as to, it's either good or it can be improved upon. Ruth?
I think that the entire thing should be reviewed and we should discuss it when NYSBA is here with us.
Okay. I just want to hear so we know, Dr. Hines?
I agree. I think the value of this process is to just start at the beginning, and the beginning has to be with the mission statement, and then, take that to the vision statement, tactics, et cetera, so I'm in support of it.
We didn't want to contact NYSBA without at least hearing from you of what you would like done, so we can at least have them to start planning. Okay,
I would agree with everyone else that
Okay.
we should take a look at it with them.
perfect. Anyone else? Same?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That's kind of where you thought we would be, but I just wanted to make sure you had opportunities to understand what options you had. But kind of figured that's where you were going to be. Didn't want to do it without at least having the conversation.
Kathleen? You agree?
I'm in agreement, yeah.
Okay. Good. All right, next, approval of equipment use license agreement. Be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby approves the equipment use license agreement between Premium Outlet Partners LP, licensor in the Middlesex Valley Central School District, licensee as presented to the board at this meeting, permitting the district to use certain equipment, tower lights, generator, and vertical mast during district athletic events through November 8th, 2024. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education hereby ratifies the action of the superintendent of schools in signing the license agreement prior to the board approval so that the equipment could be set up for the September 20th, 2024 home football game. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Anthony Monaco.
Second, Scott Hines.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just a big.
Ms. Lewis?
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Lewis. Mr. Monaco? Yep.
Go ahead.
So I just want the rest of the board members to know if they weren't aware that I did have a conversation with Mr. Monahan with regards to the insurance requirements in the agreement. While we're not paying for this, we are borrowing it. But we could still be liable should anything happen to the equipment. But Mr. Monahan has assured me that the district has the appropriate amount of insurance coverage should that come to fruition.
So everyone's aware, Ms. Lewis and I discussed, it is a $1 million policy per incident, but don't forget, we also have our umbrella policy of $15 million on top of that. Same agreement we've done the last 2 years with Mr. Mistretta from Woodbury Premium Outlets. So, but good conversation with regard to making sure everything's in place as we use these lights. And if you drove by Route 6 today, you saw all 4 lights up. Normally we've done 3. Mr. Mistretta offered up a 4th light for us. So what we did was, you'll look in the outfield, on the back side of the outfield, you'll see that 4th tower light up there. We have that lighting up the back area where our visitor team comes in, and that parking lot, which is a little bit dimly lit. We wanted to have that opportunity to have that lit up for the 3 home football games and potentially a playoff game. So keep a good thought for the football team.
And that date encompasses the
Yes.
potential playoff?
November 8th is the potential playoff game.
Okay.
Anthony, go ahead.
No, I was just, just a big shout out to the Woodbury Commons down there for, really stepping up to the plate for us. It's community giving back. They're saving us a ton of money, but we're also creating a much safer environment over at the field, and I witnessed that last year. For previous years, being dark over there, it keeps the traffic, well lit, going over towards the Gaginos area and all behind the grandstands and everywhere. It just, keeps it easier, safer, easier to maintain, safer for our kids, our staff, and everybody else. And again, big shout out to them guys, Mr. Monahan, all the back end work you guys do, central office kind of arranging that with them.
It's been great with Mr. Mistretta. I've known him now since 2010 when I worked with Monroe Woodbury. He's been a very kind person to us. If you're ever down at Woodbury Commons and you're walking through the food court area, take a look in there. You will see one of our signs from our students as a thank you back to Woodbury Commons. They are working on their 3rd thank you. The tech class will be looking at producing cornhole games, and I think one of those big Connect 4s out of PVC. If you notice in the Commons, they have an area where the kids can play. Mr. Mistretta said if they would like to design and donate something like that, he would be thrilled for that, for extra stuff for the kids. So the kids are working on it as part of their project this semester. So real world experience for our kids.
All right. No other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Next, Board of Education student member. As you know, the legislation, as we shared with you in your board report and here in our board agenda, that the state put forth legislation. The governor has signed that legislation, adopting to have a student board member for us. So I just want to let you know, our recommendation is we're going to have Margot May develop a policy first, bring it to our policy committee. I would say I would like to have Mr. Haupt come to that policy meeting just to discuss his thoughts about the selection of a student. If you read in that legislation, there's a lot of different options you have. Superintendent could pick somebody, a principal could pick somebody. You could have a student elected to it. The board could run interviews for students. One of the ones that is a possibility that's been used in a couple different districts is the student council president, since that is an actual election for somebody and they represent all the grade levels in the high school, may be an option to use. But we're going to ask Margot May to develop a policy, and then we'll bring it to our first policy meeting. Just wanted to make sure you knew what we were planning on doing.
I have one question.
Yes.
Are we anticipating getting guidance from State Education Department on this?
I would imagine we would, Mr. Flaherty, but I think the legislation is pretty clear what they're looking for, and it is spelled out that, depending on the size, like BOCES, our BOCES would have to have, I believe, 3 students on it, based on the number of districts that they represent.
Right.
So under 10 is 1, 10 to 15, I think, is 2, and then above that is 3 representatives, roughly. So we're required to, we can have one, we can have as many as you want, we're required to have 1.
The only reason I ask that is because they give guidance for everything, and that comes down through legislation, so I was just wondering, there has been any talk from?
Nothing we've heard so far from state ed, just that the legislation does spell out they are a non-voting member of the board and they cannot attend executive sessions.
Is there any, leeway to have like an alternate if the student member can't attend?
That's really, I think, comes down to board policy on how you want to approach a student member on the board.
My opinion, I think that would be good to include something like an alternate, because if the, student can't attend for whatever reason,
Okay.
they'd still have representation.
We'll mention that to Margot so that she has that and may draft up some language. We want to be able to give you, we have until next year to do this, but I think starting earlier and having the language done, the policy done prior to going through this would be the best way to go.
So, Brian, is the plan to get this on the agenda for the policy committee maybe in October, or?
I'd like to see what Margot can do, because she's done policies before for other districts that have already had this in place. Back then, previous to that, you had to have a referendum to have a student, so, they've developed those policies before, so we'll see if we can do that by that time. I don't wanna guarantee anything, because I haven't spoken to Margot yet, I didn't wanna do that without talking to everybody here, what kind of the plan was we think to go move forward. I will have a conversation with her tomorrow, and I'll share her thoughts about the potential of having a policy developed, or at least the framework of a policy. Next, I have homecoming. So, as you all know, we purposely arrange our calendar for board meetings around homecoming to give all of you an opportunity to attend the pep rally, which is Thursday night, September 26th at 7 p.m. As many board members that can make it, please do. It is a fun night. And then we have the homecoming football game, as you heard from our drum majors. It will be Friday, September 27th, 7 p.m. versus Wallkill. And then the homecoming dance will be Saturday, September 28th at 7 p.m. at the high school. Always a very well-attended event. So we have a lot of great stuff coming up. We also have, during that entire week of the football game, we have our pep rally, but we also have Spirit Week that week. So we have a lot of different home events going on, culminating in our football game that Friday night. So if you get a chance, get out to the campus, visit some of the fields, see some of the games that are going on. Should be a really fun week for us. Questions?
Is the pep rally on the football field, or is it?
No, we've been doing it in the gym the kids really like it in the gym, I think because it amplifies the loudness of how crazy it is in the gym.
No, stop.
So, the kids, we've done it on the football field. Obviously during COVID, we did it during the football field. The kids liked it. But again, that becomes weather dependent, and knowing our luck, we'll choose to do that, and all of a sudden we're gonna have a rainstorm. So we are back in the gymnasium again. The last couple of years have been there, and it's been a lot of fun with the kids.
I would agree.
I liked it outside. I liked it outside.
It was loud. I believe the winning student body, I believe it was the seniors, was about 109 decibels in the shouting contest. So, all right, next, open houses. I know some of you have already participated in them. We've already had our middle school, intermediate school, elementary school, and middle school open houses. And now what we have remaining is upcoming open houses will be our high school on September 24th at 6 p.m. Otisville Elementary K2 will be September 25th at 6 p.m. And then Otisville Elementary grades 3 through 5 will be September 26th at 6 p.m. So you get a chance, swing by, visit the open houses. A lot of fun to talk to our parents. So like I said, if you get a chance, there's the dates for you. Please make sure you stop by. Mr. Flaherty, that is all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Monahan. Next item on the agenda is Human Resources with Mr. Giordano.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. We have a motion to approve the resignations, leave of absence, and appointments as listed.
So moved, Kathy DeRose.
Second, Ruth Lewis.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Giardina. Next item on the agenda is curriculum instruction with Mr. Renato.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Just to turn the projector on. Got a short presentation of about 65 slides.
Would you like everybody in the?
That's up to you guys. It's only a few slides. I wanted to take a minute tonight. Mr. Monahan had mentioned at the last board meeting some of the professional development activities that we've been working on in the district, and in particular, some of the activities that we participated in on the superintendent conference days at the start of the school year. So I wanted just to take a minute and talk in particular about one of the initiatives. I hate calling it an initiative because it's really not an initiative per se. Okay, just turn it on. We'll get there. Oops.
Where's Jim Burtis when I need him?
Sorry about that. No worries.
That's what it is. There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, so I apologize about that. Okay, so I don't really like calling this an initiative per se because what I'm about to talk about is really just part of good teaching, good instruction, good planning, good preparation. It's something that we do all the time. It's something that your teaching staff does all the time. It just so happens that we took the time and energy this year to focus some of our energies as it relates to long-term planning on a little bit different type of perspective on this. And so this year, we started focusing in our middle school and our high school with the teachers on the concept of curriculum storyboard. So in the past, you've heard me talk a little bit about curriculum mapping. This is similar to curriculum mapping, but the purpose of curriculum storyboarding is that the process is really designed to engage not just the teachers in the process of developing and implementing strong curriculum, but also really to offer up an opportunity for our students and our parents to become engaged in the process as well. And so I'm going to talk about that in a moment here about what the long-term vision of what this is going to look like. So why? Okay. The second day of having folks back, our professional development superintendent's conference day, had an opportunity to speak to the faculties in both high school and middle school. And we started off that conversation by reminding everybody that the next day, the reason for our being here was going to be coming walking through our doors, our students. And so the whole point of this is that our curriculum is student-centered, okay? And we should be able to provide answers to students. It's been a while since I was in a classroom, but I used to have students ask me all the time, why do we have to do this? We should be able to answer that question for students. There's a reason why we do all the things that we do in our classrooms. As I say in the second bullet there, good teaching, good instruction means that we are constantly striving to improve instruction. So rather than being complacent and resting on our laurels and saying our students' grades are good enough, we should be restless. We should be constantly striving to get better. Good teaching means that we're assessing ourselves on a daily basis, and we're making determinations of how do we get better, and how do we provide for our students in a better way each and every single day. As I mentioned before, the other fourth part of this process is that we want to provide an opportunity to continue to engage our students and their families in this process as well. Okay, so from the perspective of our faculty, much of the work, when we start talking about curriculum mapping or curriculum storyboarding, much of what we're trying to do is to solve the issues you see up here on the board. So we want to look at our curriculum. We want to make sure that we understand, are there holes in our instruction? Okay, so for example, part of that process means we're sitting and we're looking at state standards and we're doing a crosswalk, we call it. We sit with the state standards, we you look at your curriculum and you're making sure that you are covering, and there's an opportunity to cover everything in those state standards at some point in time during the course of the year in your curriculum. Part of this process also allows for the opportunity to make sure that there's vertical alignment, right? So from K all the way up to grade 12, are you ensuring that what students learn in the kindergarten classroom is preparing them for first grade, and then preparing them for second grade, and that along the way, they're hitting all those important steps that they need to be hitting. Along with that, horizontal alignment. So if Mr. Renato and Mr. Giardino are both teaching chemistry, those two classes from a curriculum standpoint should not look significantly different because we're in two different teachers' classrooms. So we may provide instruction a little bit differently in terms of our individual lesson plans, but the curriculum that's covered should be the same or generally the same for both classrooms. And then finally, as you folks all know, and if you are friends with or know any teachers, teachers are being asked to pack so much into their classrooms each and every single day. And it seems like we're constantly pushing more into classrooms, but nothing ever comes out. So part of this process is allowing for conversations where teachers are understanding, where can I consolidate my curriculum? Where can I cut things? Where might I create new components to put into the curriculum? But that pacing component, making sure that during the course of the school year, I cover all of those most important concepts, and so my students are exposed to all those important parts of the curriculum. We talked a little bit about students and families and engaging them, okay? Again, engaging students, making sure that students understand why we're doing what we're doing in the classroom, reinforcing partnerships with families. Ultimately, as we're going to see in a moment here, part of this process is going to culminate in a website or a page on our website where families will be able to actually go and they will be able to see if my student is in second grade, what are they studying in ELA? If they're in ninth grade, what are they studying in phys ed? Providing context, as it says up there. What are we learning? Where are we going? What is the objectives? What are we trying to accomplish during the course of the school year? How are we going to get there? And why are we doing what we're doing? The final product, as I just mentioned, at the end of this process, and again, we've laid out basically a 2-year roadmap for the work in the middle school and the high school. At the end of that 2 years, what is the goal? The goal is to have this obviously completed, but on our website, to have a forward-facing page that's going to have it broken out as I just described. Individual subjects, grade areas, units of study, and have it be done in a compelling way, again, for that point of engagement that I talked about before. What you won't see necessarily on those forward-facing components of the website are the specifics, so the individual teacher's lesson plans, and obviously not assessments. Students would love if we posted the assessments on the internet, but that probably wouldn't be good. And I just wanted, again, as I'm kind of wrapping up here, just to give you kind of an example of what ultimately this is going to look like. This is an example from another school district. The consultant that we're working with is a company called EduPlanet 21. EduPlanet has worked with this school district, and on that webpage, when you go onto it, they have all the various different curricular areas, and you can click on those, and when you click on them, it gives you an opportunity to actually then start to separate them by grade level, and again, by course. And just to save some time here, I just took a specific example. And so on that, when you dive down into the foreign language page, they actually have it broken down, in terms of what you might expect if your student is studying in Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3, Spanish 4. And these are very broad overviews, but it just gives you a little bit of a sense of what this ultimately ends up looking like. Okay, so this process, as I said, has started in middle school and high school. The action in those two buildings has been very positive. Obviously, initially, it's another thing that we have to work on. But the reality is that the teachers in both buildings have embraced this, and they understand that this process is part of good teaching and good instruction. And frankly, most of them, it's really a matter of taking this opportunity to put this in the format that's ultimately going to go on the web page. But again, the time that we've created for them to sit with their peers and have conversation has been really valuable. So again, just really kind of like a 50,000-foot overview of what the process is going to look like. We're going to give them some time during the course of the school year on some of our upcoming superintendent days to continue this work, but anxious to see where this takes us over the course of the next couple of years. Questions?
Just comment, just from chatting with a few of the teachers after that, workshop that you had, I would call it a workshop, but, they were very, very enthusiastic about it. Excited that this is something that they saw as very valuable.
And I appreciate that feedback, Bill. I can tell you that, one of the things that happened during the course of those workshops, and it's probably a good word to use for it, the facilitator, about half, 3/4 of the way through, kind of shut things down and said, okay, I'm gonna let you go back to your small groups now and start to work amongst your teams, but I'm gonna stay here, I'm gonna be in the library, I'm gonna be where I'm gonna be, and if you've got questions or concerns, you wanna, kind of bounce things off me, this is where you can find me. And it was really interesting to watch groups of teachers kind of flooding in and just kind of picking her brain and asking questions and really trying to understand the process, and it was really interesting and great to see. Yes, sir.
A few comments and questions, I guess you want to call. This is, again, like Mr. Cooper, this is awesome, this is exciting. But my question would be, so will this eventually trickle down all the way to elementary school?
Yes, it will. Eventually it will. At this point, the primary focus at the elementary grade levels is still our reading program.
Sure.
And that is of uber significance.
Yes.
And so we want for them to focus their time and energy becoming experts on science of reading. And so we're not going to ask them to focus on this yet, but eventually we will get to that point.
And then you had said, so we're working with a company on this, is that what?
Consultant, yeah.
The consultant would be the
Yep.
correct word, so they're they send like a mentor out kind of thing?
Absolutely, that's exactly what they did. Yeah.
Okay,
And,
so that's-
and she's going to be available to us throughout the course of this process.
This is very exciting. I'm excited to see how this all plays out for us.
Do you anticipate any, well, I know you do, because the state's constantly changing the goalposts with curriculum. Do you see any significant changes to the curriculum in, like, say, next year or the following years?
So the big question at this point in time that we're all kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop on is the graduation measures. And so certainly as that continues to move forward, whether that's going to have an impact on curriculum or not, it's probably too early to tell. But many of our grade levels, particularly in the high school, they've recently done a lot of work on the curriculum, so I'm not necessarily thinking that that's going to be coming too soon. But the good thing about this is that these are designed to be living documents. And so the teachers own these, they've got control over them, they're the ones that are designing them on the back end. And so when there are changes, whether it's something that they as a group at the local level make decisions on, or whether the state makes decisions at the state level in terms of state standards, these could be adjusted and modified as we move
Right,
forward.
because the big concern is how drastically are they going to adjust curriculum standards, because you may have to change your curriculum to accommodate the changes in the state standards. So, and that's a lot of work. But, that's over the summer, get teachers together and getting a team together and getting them to help rewrite the curriculum for the district.
So one of the things that folks don't necessarily see, but happens behind the scenes, is that each summer, we have literally hundreds of days that the teachers put in terms of doing curriculum work. So, again, everybody thinks that during the summertime, all of our teachers take the summer off. They don't. We have so many teachers that are either here or they're home, and they're working on curriculum, they're planning for the next coming school year. I think this year I approved over 400 days of summer curriculum work. That's very impressive.
That's great. That's
very
great.
impressive.
And our teachers want to be here,
They
correct?
want to be here, and they want to be with their peers, so they can brainstorm and plan together.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Very
Chris.
impressive, Chris.
Everybody settled? The next item on the agenda is pupil personnel services with Mr. Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Good evening. Please refer to the executive summary on board docs. Committee on Preschool Special Education met on 2 days in September. 3 students were reviewed. I ask for a motion to approve the arrangement of the recommended placements by the Committee on Preschool Special Education as presented.
So moved.
Kathy DeRose.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Committee on Special Education met on 1 day in August and 7 days in September. 23 students were reviewed. I ask for a motion to approve the arrangements of the recommended placements by the Committee on Special Education as presented.
So moved, Scott Hines.
Second, Anthony Monaco.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
A resolution for a release and settlement agreement, be it resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the terms of the release and settlement agreement involving student number 26021, a copy of which shall be incorporated by reference in the minutes of this meeting. And be it further resolved that the President of the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools be and hereby are authorized to execute such release and settlement agreement on behalf of the district.
So moved, Kathy DeRose.
Second, Bill Cooper.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
The only thing I will say, just on this particular agreement, the only thing we can say is, number one, the board is already aware of why this agreement is in place. And number two, the district absolutely did not drop the ball, as you are all aware.
Thank you, Mr. Monahan.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
The only comment I would like to make is that, I have seen many of these agreements that far exceed this amount of money. So this was the most appropriate avenue for the district to take.
Absolutely.
Second, so we have an instructional contract for Devereaux Foundation for a student.
I got it.
Wait, we
Yeah,
didn't
sorry,
vote
sorry, I
yet.
have to get the
Sorry.
ball first. Sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Okay,
Sorry.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I usually only have 2 sentences.
Four.
Four, it's throwing me off. Be it instructional contract for Devereaux Foundation for a student who is placed at Devereaux. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby authorizes the board president to execute the following instructional contract as listed below for the provision of educational services to the district students during the 24-25 school year as presented to the board at this meeting.
So moved.
Second, Scott Hines.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Fenton. Next item on the agenda is the business portion with Mr. Witherow.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. First item we have is approval of warrants. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, accepts the claims auditor's report for the following warrants as attached.
So moved, Lewis.
Second, Anthony Monaco.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Next item is extra classroom activity quarterly report for June 2024. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, accepts and files the extra classroom activity reports for the period ending June 2024.
So move, Bill Cooper.
Second, Lewis.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes. I just want, would question the JROTC in the high school because they have been not in, there's been no activity. Last year, we didn't have the program. We do not have the program this year. And I think an inactive account can only sit for 2 years, so we need to keep that on our radar so that those funds can be moved.
Yes, we're again still in contact with Cadet Command just to see if there's any interest in anybody wanting to be part of the program as an instructor. So we still have some time before.
Right.
That's why we still have it active right now.
Right, okay.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Next item is acceptance of budget transfer reports. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, acknowledges receipt of the budget transfer reports for the months of July and August 2024.
So moved, Lewis.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Next item is acceptance of the Palumbo Group proposal. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the letter proposal dated September 16th, 2024, submitted by the Palumbo Group as presented to the Board of Education at this meeting to amend their existing agreement with the district for construction management services for the district's capital projects. The agreement to to include services in connection with construction of Project F, gym/cardio addition/renovation, at a total additional fee of $262,430. A copy of the letter proposal is incorporated by reference within the minutes of this meeting.
So move Bill Cooper.
Second, Anthony Monaco.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
We're not going to be expecting any change orders for this phase of this project, are we? I mean, it's hard to predict, I know that.
It's hard to predict.
I apologize
Yeah,
for that.
it's very hard to predict for that. What we can tell you is, Mr. Tranchina and I had a number of discussions. This is a very complex portion of the project, due to timelines associated with equipment ordering. Right now, in my conversations with Tetra Tech, they still feel comfortable late September, early October of approval from the state. That is their hope. As we are all aware of the amount of projects that are up at the state, but all we keep getting told is we're in the queue, which means it's obviously being reviewed, because it's been up there probably 12 or 14 weeks at least. So once we have that, I think we'll have a better picture, Ms. Lewis. But the reason why we wanted to have Palumbo Group in place because of the very tight timelines with having to shut the high school down. Mr. Tranchina, even though it's, they're telling us possibly 2 weeks, he said we need to plan for 3 weeks of literally no power at the high school. And we still will have to provide generators for the work that's going on there, and also generators for our lift station for waste treatment going up, also to maintain the pool water so we don't lose that. So a lot of this is a lot of moving pieces here. So I don't want to say yes or no on that, just because of everything going on with this. And doing the switchgear, that is a lot of equipment, and I can guarantee you, no matter how much measuring they do, no matter how much stuff they plan for, something's not going to fit.
Right.
Just because of the type of equipment we're bringing in and the equipment we're taking out of the high school. This is the original 1974 switchgear coming out of the high school. And the other part of it, so you're aware, is we are also coordinating with Orange and Rockland to redo the transformer and the line coming down and the line going directly into the high school. Figured with having the power off that long, we might as well repair everything in one shot and not have to worry about it going forward for another 20, 25 years.
No, those are good improvements that are long overdue.
Long overdue.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty.
Thank you, Mr. Witherell. Next item on the agenda is the report section. First item in the report section is, at our board retreats, some members had come up with the idea of possibly having a board member comment period. And myself, Mr. Cooper, Mr. Monahan had a call with our attorney. And the first thing she asked was, basically, what is the purpose of this comment period for? She said normally, comments like this are just part of the district events type of portion of the meeting, and if board members wanted to say things, they could. So she just didn't think it was really necessary to have a separate section, but I know some people said things about adding items to the agenda. We already have a policy for that, and she brought that up as well. She said the policy states that if it was to add items to the agenda, there is a policy in place. Policy 1510 states the superintendent will prepare the meeting agenda during the week and before the meeting and review it with the board president. The agenda will then be distributed to the board members no later than the Friday before the regular meeting. The president or other board members will submit requests and place matters on the agenda to the superintendent. Whenever individuals or groups wish to bring a matter to attention of the board, they must submit a written request to the superintendent. So basically, she read the policy to us. And she wants to know if we would designate a new category on the agenda for a comment period or be adding to the report section, like I said, because she said that's really the way it's usually done. And another thing she brought up was, is there going to be a designated time period for each board member to speak? She said, for example, like 3 minutes per member. And she said there should only be comments and not a discussion about these whatever board members bring up. There's no deliberation during this section. Minutes will not be verbatim, and there'll only be a summary of the topic. So with that, and Bill, you want to chime in on add anything with that?
Yeah, and I kind of bounced off of her that I thought it was something we were looking at for people, from things that we've heard or things happening that we wanted to bring up to the board. And she then did caution that it can be done, but in comment only, not in a full discussion type basis. That if you had something you wanted to bring to the awareness of the board, it can be done, but in comment. So I don't.
It seemed like she was saying it's just very restrictive in nature what we do.
Right. And that other boards that do have comment sections already are restricted to, the board members can make comments, but it's not a,
Give and take.
give and take type of discussion, period. And the idea of, I think, delineating a separate section versus just saying, adding it onto the district events / comments, I think personally is probably the better of the ideas, rather than to create a whole different section.
And at times, board members have done that as well, they've had district events, but they've also commented on things, relating to, sort of like, the youth sports or something like that, they may mention something like that, so we have done that, and just made comments, but as Bill and I, said, it's kind of restrictive in nature, and she was like, it's kind of redundant to have two separate sections. That was basically her point, that it was redundant, we could do this in the district events portion, and, she didn't really think there was a need to have a separate section, but, boards do what boards wanna do, so that was, anybody wanna chime in on how they feel about this? Sure. Andrew?
I kind of agree with you and Mr. Cooper. I think if we're gonna do that, we should probably just keep that in our district event thing, because like you said, we're only restricted on what we can really comment about. So I would agree with that.
Anybody else on this end?
And she did also caution that we have to make sure that what we're bringing up is not something that can only be discussed in executive areas. And she did say, like, we might want to bounce whatever we're gonna talk about off of somebody to make sure that it is something that can be discussed in public forum for our own protections.
Ms. White?
It sounds like we can do what we wanna do, we would just combine, or we would stick it with the district events, is that what you're suggesting, instead of making two sections?
Correct.
That's what the lawyer was saying, I kind of agree with her.
Yeah, that seems reasonable, it sounds like we could still have a period of comments.
Right.
If we wanted, it's just a matter of how it's listed on the agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just it's a formality, that's
Yeah.
basically what it is. Are we gonna do it this way, or are we gonna do it that way? And, with the restrictions in place, and, knowing about how we go about, if you wanna add items to the agenda, there's a process for that already, so
Yeah,
it's,
okay, yeah.
it's not in the public comment section.
Gotcha.
So, Ms. Lewis?
I'm thinking.
Dr. Hines?
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I mean, the reason why we brought this up to begin with was when we had our retreat, the thought was that it would be good to have a time during the meeting that if somebody had something that was on their mind that they may want to think about, that they may want to put out in front of the board to say, we could think about talking about this at a future meeting. This was an opportunity to do that because of concerns about having 3 or 4 board members talking about something and that sort of thing. So that was the purpose of this, and I still think that that's a reasonable thing to do. As far as where it falls in the meeting, I don't care.
It was more like a food for thought idea.
Yep.
And, yeah. Mr. Rose?
I'm 100% with Scott on that. That, was the NISBA, it was really a suggestion of the professionals from NISBA for us to talk about it, think about it.
Right.
And I don't want to go against board policy, and actually you could try to do it that way, you'd have to redo that. So
Right.
as long as we can bring up certain things in district events, I'm good with leaving it there.
So my request is gonna be, can you share that policy with us in your board report next week, please? Can you share that policy?
Sure. Don't forget, your board policies are also available.
Right, I
Yeah.
don't know what number it is, so. if you
1510,
could
but
share
I'll
it,
put the whole policy
That would
in.
be great for everybody to review.
Sure. Not a problem.
Maybe we could just table this item for now and revisit it.
I think once
Leave
you
it
had an
on the
opportunity to
agenda
read the
for now
policy.
and then
Yeah.
revisit it after we've all reviewed the policy.
I think that's appropriate. I think take some time, look at it. You've heard what the attorney has suggested. I think it's good to process it
And
all.
maybe you could, summarize what the attorney said in your call to us as well in your board report. Just so we have a very good understanding, because it is kind of hard to hear in here at times.
No problem.
Thank you.
We'll put together, I'll try to have all of that done by tomorrow afternoon for you. The policy should be pretty easy to get in there. Summarizing the notes, I'd have to talk to Mr. Flaherty and Mr. Cooper to grab all of their notes.
Yep.
And we'll put them together and summarize them.
All right, thank you.
Just so folks are, the policy, box, there's a search thing, so if you type in like
Yeah.
agenda, it'll pull it right up, or, it's pretty, I was impressed with that.
Yeah, it's much easier where it's there.
Yeah.
But not a problem, it's a specific policy, you just put it as a PDF, you can attach it in your board report, so it's in 2 places for you.
Isn't this it, this is it right here?
Yeah.
This is mine.
Yep, it's there, but we'll put it it was asked to put in the board report, and we will make sure that happens. If you just scroll down to the bottom there, you'll see it.
I was not clicked on that section, so
Ah,
I
there you go.
apologize.
It's okay. It's in a couple places, but
People get confused.
it's not a problem. I'll dump it into the board report as well, so you can always refer back there as well.
Thank you.
I like my paper.
Any other questions or comments at this time? No? All right, we will move on to board committees and committee meeting dates. I sat down with Mr. Monahan and Mr. Cooper, and we delineated everybody's requests. Tried to come up with the best possible, choices that people wanted to be on with the needs of the district, and so basically we came up with, it was pretty much very much the same as last year, but obviously we have a new member, so there was some changes. But athletic committee, it's Mr. Cooper as the chair, Mr. Monaco, and Mr. Rose. Building and grounds is Mr. Monaco, Mr. Cooper, and Ms. Lewis. Finance committee is Ms. Reynolds as the chair, Dr. Hines and Ms. Lewis. Policy committee, Dr. Hines is the chair with Vanessa White and Sean Cahill. Transportation committee, Sean Cahill is the chair with Luke Lewis and Kathy DeRose. Audit committee, I am the chair with the board, it's the entirety of the board on that committee. The menu advisory committee, Vanessa White will be the chair with Ms. Reynolds and Mr. Rose. And these are the tentative dates for the committee meetings. September 30th at 6 p.m. a finance committee. October 1st at 6 p.m. a transportation committee. October 2nd at 6 p.m. athletics committee. October 7th at 6 p.m. building and grounds committee. October 8th at 6 p.m. menu committee. October 10th at 6 p.m. audit committee. That's the committee of board. And October 28th, policy committee. Anybody have any questions, comments? Kathleen?
I responded yes to one of my committees to attend, and that would be menu, because I will be back from vacation, but I had to say no to transportation and athletics, because I'll be out of state. And I won't be here for what, unfortunately.
Okay, we'll make do.
We'll make sure the information is sent out from each of those meetings through our board report after they're done. So you'll have a pretty lengthy one every 2 weeks of the meetings that are going on. So we'll get you all the information in the board report.
Yeah, I apologize, but
Nope.
I'm not giving up the beach, sorry.
And I just do want to quickly say thank you to Ms. Molnar for putting all of this together and sending out all the invitations and coordinating all the people we need to invite to all these meetings. I've already spoken with Mr. Bolt for athletics. I've already spoken with Tetra Tech for buildings, for the buildings and grounds committee meeting. We've already spoken to Ms. Ballou food for our food service. Mr. Powers already is putting together everything he needs for the transportation committee to share information with all of you. So we are in the process of getting all this together. We have already reached out to Margot for our policy committee. We are waiting probably another few days, correct, that we should have a number of policies to review. So we're gonna have those, we'll send those out hopefully a week in advance for all of you to look at her comments on those policies as well. But again, a big thank you to Ms. Molnar for arranging all of this, so thank you for doing that.
Any other questions or comments? Next item on the agenda is district events. Any board members want to report on district events they've attended? Mr. Monaco?
I was able to get to a few things. Actually tonight, I was able to catch some modified volleyball with Mr. Cooper. It was great seeing that. How a team starts, first day of school, and here you are a week and a half later, and they're playing a game. I also attended tonight the ice cream social with the new teachers, which that's always a great event to meet some of our new teachers in the district. It's great to speak with them and talk with them and see how excited they are to be here and be with our staff. Also last Friday night, I took the trek over to NFA with Mr. Monahan and some of the other administrators to watch our boys football team on the NFA over there, and the Goldbacks, should I say? I was going to say the Eagles, but the Goldbacks. We got to meet their superintendent, as well as some of their board members and some of their administration, so that was great to see that. It was great to see our boys. I mean, they put up a fight like nobody's business, and the score did not replicate what really happened in that game. I've never seen so much heart and pride and soul put into that. It was like everybody was against us, and they just kept fighting. But I did want to comment, and me and Mr. Monahan did talk at length about this. Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Hendershot do an amazing job there. Tutoring our young coaches and staff and really mentoring our boys there. I was completely blown away. I mean, again, not being from here my whole life, I'm still meeting people and learning people, and I don't know the long tradition of all the different families here. I wanted to make a comment, and like I said, I was completely blown away. Every football player on that team, after they went to the locker room, got changed before they got on the bus, because we stayed to make sure everything was good. And I did want to also state that, Newburgh was a very safe environment, it was a very good environment, everything was run really nicely there. We were well respected, and we were also well represented there in the stands as well. But back to this, so they go in the locker room to get changed, they come back out to get on the bus, after really losing a heartbreaker, in my opinion. Maybe we play that game at the end of the year, it's a different story possibly. Every one of those boys shook my hand, gave me a hug and shook my hand, and thanked me and everyone else for coming and being there and supporting them. I owe that to our families, right? Our parents, our guardians, and our coaches for really instilling that to them. And whether they knew me or didn't know me, I mean, I'm sure they all know Mr. Monahan and Mr. Hawk and Mr. Bolt, but it was just a uplifting experience, and to just see that, and it was just great that they feel us being there and supporting them on the field, off the field, and all the time. So that was just a really uplifting thing for me, and it makes it worth all this work we do back here, right? Because nobody knows what goes on over here. It makes it all worth it to see that and the respect that our young women and men are getting here and giving at this district. So I just wanted to say that.
It's a very difficult place to play.
Yes.
It's a very difficult place.
Yes.
I've coached youth games there, and it's a very fast surface.
Yes, very fast. Exciting. But like I said, Mr. Flaherty, I mean, I've never. I was just completely blown away, and I just couldn't say enough to Mr. Monahan and Mr. Bolt, Mr. Hawk about it. It was just an amazing experience for our boys to come over there and maybe know who I am and maybe don't know who I am. And just see me there in my Minnesota green and shake my hand and give me a hug and thank me for coming and supporting them. And that means a lot, to me, and I'm sure it does to you guys as well. So that's why we do what we do here.
Absolutely.
And I will tell you, watching Coach Hendershot and Coach Gallagher doing what they're doing, mentoring the whole next
Yes.
generation of coaches.
Amazing.
That we've hired over the last couple of years that are now part of this menacing tradition of coaching in the district, no matter what the sport is.
Yes.
But it's all of these new teachers that have come in here and have committed to helping to mentor the next generation of students coming through. And to see that is wonderful, and how proud they are of the kids as well. It just overall was really, really wonderful to see that. And it was great to see them come up and shake every one of our hands. And like you said, probably 90% of them gave us a bear hug.
It was just, yeah, it was just an amazing thing. Actually, I did want to add two other things. I think I spoke to you quickly about this as well. In my travels in the past week, I was actually approached by a few customers, two of them, stating why they moved here, and they moved here for our school district. So that's a really amazing thing that, you know, people are telling us they came here because of our district, which was really, you know, one foreign family came here from our district, and another family moved here because of what we do here. So that's amazing to hear that.
Anybody else?
The only thing, I would just like to add that, last time I acknowledged our buildings and grounds for opening day, and I just want to add on to that, I would really like to acknowledge our transportation department, because they go above and beyond to ensure that the students get to and from school safely. If there's any upset, they're very good, the drivers are wonderful, and they're very responsive, so I just really, I have to acknowledge that.
I would add, and I said this, it was the most seamless year I've seen on the first day of school. In my 15 years on the board, it was absolutely the most seamless day I've seen. And that's a testament to the drivers. You know, and the first day of school was tough because you get all the little kids with the pictures and everything else, and it delays everything. But it was masterful how the timing and everything worked very, very well this year. And kudos to all the staff.
I actually shared, I shared it with Mr. Monahan and Mr. Powers. I was actually, a good friend of mine texted me on the second day of school stating about, you know, the drivers and on time, everything going smooth, and I shared that with Mr. Powers and Mr. Monahan. I thought that was great that somebody texted me personally to tell me, you know, that's awesome that our drivers are out there doing what they do.
Anybody else on this end? Vanessa? Can't see you. Any comments? No other comments? Okay. The only thing I would add is I went to the ice cream social too, and it was great. It was great to speak to the new teachers again. Myself and Mr. Cooper had spoke to them before the school year, and we basically said to them, if you need help, ask. And I asked them again, and they said, when we needed help and we asked, we got help. And I said, that's very reassuring that, like, they're getting the support that they need, and they're not afraid to ask for help if they need it, and B, they're getting the support when they do ask for it. And that makes us they wouldn't have better teachers that way. And
It was nice that some of our support staff was able to make it as well. Some of our new support staff from B&G were able to make it as well. So it was just a nice event for everybody.
yes.
I will add one thing. It was very nice to see everybody there. It was wonderful. And there were several new employees, faculty, and support staff that brought their family with them so they could meet their new menacing family. And I thought that was wonderful because we are a family here. So that was beautiful. One lady had her in-laws there. That was beautiful. I mean, really.
That's really lovely.
It's nice to see that support, on her side. It was very nice.
Anything else? I'm going to ask the board for a motion to enter an executive session to discuss employment histories of particular persons and matters made exempt under federal law FERPA. The board may take action after executive session.
So moved, Captain Rose.
Second, Anthony Monaco.
Motion made and second. Is there any discussion? Seeing that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?